Hello and welcome to Chapter 7 of the Forgotten Game video book. My name's Joshua French and this chapter is called Other Games. Because when you start to get happier, it becomes more natural just to do things for the fun of it, play games. So there are countless games you could play or invent, and here's a few of my favourites. Number 1. These are in no particular order, but I absolutely love the ratings game, I call it, but it's more commonly known as a gratitude journal. So at the end of each night I write down one thing at least that was my best moment of the day. So it could be lots of good moments I've had in that day and I write them all down. And another thing which is my favourite place of that day. And another thing is my favourite food or drink of that day. So before I go to bed, I've been really tuned in, focusing on these things that I'm grateful for and I've enjoyed. And then at the end of the week, it's like a little competition to see which food won, or drink, which place won and which moment won. And then at the end of the month, we see which the winner of the month is, and then the year, etc. So I'm maybe a little bit more obsessive about that game than others, but I think that is a hugely powerful and wonderful thing to do, to make sure that you document in a way that is so positive these wonderful things that are happening to you. And the better you get at getting happy and enjoying the game of life, you will find there's more and more and more and more. And you would think that if I'm just cycling to work and it's the same cycle I do every day and then cycling back and that's it, you'd think there wouldn't be that much really that you could see as a new place. But there is. There's so much when you start to open your eyes and look at the details of things and notice a building you've never seen before, or a little patch of wild flowers you've never seen before. There's places everywhere, and there's always new tastes to have, and there's new wonderful experiences all the time. Okay, so I've sold that one, I hope. It's a really good thing to do, and research shows that keeping a gratitude journal is definitely proven to raise your happiness levels. So it's a winner on all counts. Game number 2, experimental travel. So I talked about cycling from work the same way and back. Now I do that, but I also do take little detours and stuff, because just the act of doing something differently, seeing a place in a new way, it really opens your eyes, makes you more present, and just enhances your positivity. And it's like a two-way thing, because if you explore more, like I said, it opens your eyes and makes you more present and makes you happier. But also, if you're happier, then you have the natural urge to explore more. The world seems more like a playground and you want to explore it more. And just here on this shelf, there's a book, The Experimental Travel Guide, The Lonely Planet Guide to Experimental Travel. They don't sell it anymore. It's a real shame, because it's a brilliant book, very inspirational. And in a nutshell, experimental travel is travelling, could be in your own hometown, village, city, or part of the countryside, or away from home, but not doing it in a typical way where you just go to the places that everyone else goes. It's about adding an element of chance and spontaneity into it, such as on a London tube, throwing a dice and getting off after that many stops. And that's a game I've played. And taking a map of a town centre, drawing a random shape on it. When I was in Bratislava, I drew a bat. It sounded a bit like bat. And then you, in real life, try and walk the shape of that shape in actual real life, going down those roads that were on the map and trying as best you can. And what happens is you get totally away from the tourist trail and you see things that you wouldn't normally have observed, and it's fun. So when I was travelling, I'll just say, with my partner, we got a little bit bored of just doing the tourist things, so we really got into experimental travel and got so into it that we wrote a little ebook about it called Playground Earth, so you can look for that as well if you're interested. So, anything else I want to say about experimental travel? You could do it right now. After you've watched this video, you could walk out your front door and go for a walk around the block of your neighbourhood, and you could see things, notice things that you've never noticed before. Take a dice. No, a coin, I'll say. I've already talked about dice. Take a coin and flip it. Heads or tails. If it's heads, go left. If it's tails, go right. That sort of thing. Add an element of chance into it. It's wonderful. Wonderful. Game number 3. This one I just call levels. And you know, in computer games, you have to go up from level 1 to level 2 to level 3, and you're always heading up to something. Well, I started to realise that my life was a bit like that. That there are levels of experience. And sometimes, if you're at a lower level, you can use a different strategy to help you move up to a higher level. And you're always on this continuum, you're always moving. So I'll tell you the levels, I'll give you some quick tips on sorts of things that might help you move up the levels, and things to avoid that might help make you go down in the levels, and that's that. And then you're free, if you like the idea, to make up your own levels, give them your own labels, and play the game in the way I've suggested. My level number 1 is the Slough of Despond, I call it. And that's no offence to the town of Slough. It's just a term I got from Piers Plowman. When I was in a youth theatre, we did an adaptation of it. The Slough of Despond is a level of despair and really dark emotions. And then level 2, one step up, is the Grumps. Still negative, but it's low-level negativity. Complaining, general irritation, you know, looking on the bad side of things. That habitual negativity that I used to live on that level of the Grumps for the majority of the time. Level 3 is the Gap, which is where you're not feeling good or bad really, but you could easily tip from one to the other. It's not a level of non-dual transcendence, it's just feeling kind of in the middle. Level 4 is the Smiles, I call it, where you are having a low-level positivity, or you're content, everything's fine, you're quite cheerful. Level 5 is, I call the Ride, and this is where you're really joyful, you're happy, you're enjoying things, you are riding. No, I don't like what I'm saying, but anyway, I'll continue it, You see, if I could just be more flexible, not worry so much about making mistakes, then it would probably be a better video actually, wouldn't it? So I'm going to try this again. Game number 3 is the levels, and this is a new one I've come up with, and I quite enjoy it. I very much enjoy it actually, but there's some things to be aware of. I'll explain it quickly. Game number 3 is the levels. You know how in a computer game you have to go up a level, you know, maybe kill a baddie, and then you move up to the next level until you finally get to the completion, the end. Well, I started to realise that it feels like my life has these certain levels, and I gave these levels a number and a name, and now I notice where I am. I am on, I would say, that's on, say, level 5 maybe at the moment. And I'll explain what the levels are. Okay, so level 1 for me, you can make up your own names, but these are the ones I give it. Level 1 for me is called the Slough of Despond. Nothing to do with a town in Britain called Slough. It's a term I got from Piers Plowman, and it just means a place of darkness, really despairing emotions, feeling really stuck, like there's no way out. That's level 1. Level 2 is the Grumps, which is a level of low-level negativity, irritation, complaining, bitching, It's the level that actually I used to live on for the majority of my life. Level 3 is the Gap, which is neither good nor bad really, it's just kind of in the middle, but you could easily move to positivity or negativity from that. Level 4 is the Smiles, which is low-level happiness. It's cheerfulness, optimism, content, but it's not really joyful because that's level 5. That's, I call, the ride, is when you're enjoying the ride of life and really having fun with it. So you might think, okay, level 6 and 7 are still to come if there's 7 levels. What could be better than enjoying the ride of life? Well, for me, it's when you start to move beyond just enjoying life as it is, but starting to realise that maybe it's not all as real as you thought it was. And what an uplifting, wonderful realisation that starts to be. So level 6 I call playing the game, because you start to realise reality is fluid, and how I choose to perceive things actually changes my experience of life. So I start to deliberately make choices about how I am feeling and what I'm thinking about, and life starts to be responding to that. So I call it playing the game, because it's like playing a game. Life is a game. And level 7 is transcendence. It's when the veil drops and you are no longer seeing the Maya, the illusion, but you are in a non-dual existence. And I'm certainly not there. Occasionally I have moments where it feels like I'm touching that or perceiving that. But I am not upset that I'm not there, because I know when this character dies I will definitely be there. So there's so many nice levels on the way there anyway. But the thing is, there is still that place that's calling me back away from a feeling of separation, back to this unity where you're not one single individual, but you are the whole. You are all of consciousness. You are all of the universe. You are beyond time and space. So that's somewhere to aim for. So I've talked a little bit about the levels, and now some things to avoid if you don't want to go down the levels, and some things to try if you want to move up the levels. And I've talked about a lot of them already, but I can call them power-ups. Jane McGonigal, I'll put a link to a few of these people. Jane McGonigal talks about power-ups, and so some of these power-ups are being out in nature, drinking water, being mindful of your breathing, doing something like Qigong or Tai Chi or yoga, being around positive people, listening to uplifting music. And some of the enemies, some of the things to avoid, are watching TV for a long time, or watching anything on TV that's negative in its topic. And conspiracy theory websites, I used to be really into them, but I just want to put that in there because sometimes people who have a kind of spiritual calling are also very into conspiracy theories, and they can really, I'm sure some of them are true, but they are very negatively focused, and they can create lots of negative emotions. What else? Being around negative people, and eating really nasty food, not drinking enough water, not breathing properly, never getting out in nature, all those sorts of things will bring you down. And if you're on a very low level, really, if you're in level 1, saying, oh, just find things to appreciate is very, very hard, but just a total deep acceptance and surrender and a non-resistance is really the only thing to do. Just totally letting go, maybe going to sleep, and when doing that, then the chance happens that you can start to move up. When you're on a slightly less negative, but you're in the level of the grumps, that's when you can start to just laugh at yourself a bit more. Come on. Sometimes I even over-exaggerate a negative emotion. If I'm a bit angry, I'll go, oh yes, I'm really angry. It's totally ruined my day that the washing up hasn't been done. It's terrible, isn't it? And it kind of makes me laugh and gets me out of it. When you're in the gap or low level, the smiles, just finding things to appreciate. It really does boost your happiness. And then not just appreciating, but really savouring them, which is appreciation plus mindfulness. What is it you like about this? And then to move towards playing the game more, following your intuition about things. Like when you really listen to your intuition and follow your intuition about it, then life can really seem to start to become quite magical. And towards transcendence, well, I'm not there, so I don't know, but there is something about non-dual pointing, it's called, which I have found quite useful in creating the experience of being connected with everything, which is when you point at different things, but then when you point into your own eyes, you're actually just, what are you pointing at? Just your own seeing, your own awareness, your own self, your own consciousness. So it starts to become something that you're aware of, that you are pure awareness. So that's really, I don't want to spend too long on this game because it's unbalancing a bit with the other ones, but that's really an idea of how to play the game of levels. I mentioned James McGonigal. Abraham-Hicks talks about the emotional scale, which is quite similar to this. Eckhart Tolle talks about portals of awareness, I think he says, portals of awareness, and that is ways that we can kind of jump straight towards the level 7, I think, and I can't remember the name of the person who does the pointing thing, but there's a website all about it if you type in non-dual pointing. And Conscious TV is a great website, and they have lots of videos for with people who talk about non-duality and the experience of liberation. So you can have a look on there as well. And there's many other teachers I could mention, but now I'm going to move on to the next game, game number 4. Game number 4, Enneagram type spotting. I won't spend very long on this game because if you're not interested in the Enneagram of personality, then you won't be interested in this game. But some of you have come through to my website or my videos because I've made some on Enneagram types, and I would say that this is one of my really favourite things to do is, and I'm doing it all the time, is not only just looking for Enneagram numbers or types in the people I meet, but also in the songs I hear. If it's a song about tortured love and it's very dark, it's probably quite a 4-ish song. And in the films I see, if it's a lovely mellow fantasy film, then it might be a 9-ish film. And countries as well, I've been to countries. Singapore, I think, is a very 1-ish country because it's very ethical and it really has very high standards, but it's also very clean and very neat, and so and not that much fun. So sorry, I find that Enneagram spotting is a great thing to do. So you could have a look on my Enneagram website, and I've made a few lists. I've kind of got out of the habit of doing that, but you can always contribute some. If you can think of Enneagram types that you spot in, and I'll let you fill in the blanks, because you could see them anywhere. I'm looking outside now, out of the window, and I'm seeing one solitary tree on their own. Quite a strange, interesting looking tree, but a bit aloof, eccentric looking. That's a 5-ish tree out there. Okay, that's the end of that game. Game number 5. This is a new game that I'm playing, and I just call it Themed Months. And my partner and I, we were cat sitting one month. This is about October. So we decided to watch some films about cats. For example, The Aristocats, that was one of them. And from that we got the song Everybody Wants to Be a Cat, and we started to have a little playlist of songs about cats. Cool for Cats and 3 Cool Cats and things like that. And we even went to a place that was famous because it has some cats on this house called the Cat House. It's Henfield in Sussex. And from there, it's developed and developed. So now we're just approaching Poetry Month, and we are every day going to read a different poem. And we've also got a playlist of loads of different songs that have been taken from poems. And we are watching films that are inspired by poetry. And we're going to Bognor Regis for a day out because William Blake, who wrote one of the poems that we're looking at in detail, had a holiday in Bognor Regis and had a house there, I think. So it just really marks out that month as luminously memorable, and we will never forget all the memories that are associated with the poems. Oh, and also, we're writing our own poems as well, and I'm not a writer, really. That's not my natural strength, but I'm really enjoying and having fun with the idea of this poem that I'm working on that I'm going to finish by the end of this month coming up. So that's another game, themed months. And there's all sorts of other ones. But I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much if you're still with me. Thank you very much for watching the Forgotten Game video book. I really enjoyed making it. And if you want to contact me with any feedback or comments, then please do. And apart from that, enjoy the rest of your day or night, the rest of your week, and just enjoy your life, the rest of your life. I think that's why you're here. Not to be all serious, not to get something done, not to make enough money so you can leave it to your kids. Just to enjoy this amazing experience. That's it. Bye-bye.